Hello and welcome to the Listening Post's unboxing channel on YouTube. Today it's with great pride that I am unboxing McIntosh's brand new solid state preamp, their C55. This stunning new implementation of a stereo preamp is second to none. It features their new DA2 DAC, which in itself has some really cool new features. I'll touch on those. It features the ability to control it via an app and network control now, along with all of McIntosh's standard control, trigger, IR, all of those things. It has 16 inputs. 7 of them are digital, including optical, coax, MCT, HDMI. It's got 2 phono preamps, which in themselves are stunning, 3 balanced, and 4 RIAA or single-ended inputs. That's not including the processor loop or tape loop or all of those things that they also include. It's absolutely stunning. It's worth every cent. No, it's not cheap, but it is so utterly good and so utterly perfect that it makes it worth every single cent. So let's have a look. McIntosh, their export boxes are huge. They always have been. They have McIntosh logo, scannable information and serial numbers on all 4 corners. So it doesn't matter which way you stick this in the warehouse or in your home, you can see exactly what it is. They're always taped closed with this McIntosh branded fabric tape. And other than some delivery information and probably something that got stuck on the top for freight, it's absolutely perfect from a packaging perspective. Opening this external freight box is always very straightforward. It's a simple process to cut the McIntosh tape and reveal the product from inside. Now you can see the elaborate work that McIntosh has done to ensure that this product will arrive to you safely. It's a box within a box, but the second box is suspended inside a whole lot of extra packaging to ensure that it's completely protected in freight. Getting it out of that, probably the easiest is to lift it out because it's not too heavy. And then plonk it on its end. Right, so nothing else in the freight carton. We'll get rid of that. And get rid of 2 of the 4 closed cell foam corners. And the other 2, easy to go. Revealing a box inside that perhaps gives you a better understanding of the physical size of the preamp. There's an emulation of the scannable information we've seen on the corners, the C55, the model and serial number clearly, and the McIntosh logo. Opening the second box is again very straightforward. It's sealed with factory tape, and in this front corner, very easy. Just follow the natural curve of the box until this flap is revealed. Opening that, we see some basic information. Now, the manual, by the way, is comprehensive, really comprehensive. Again, model number C55. Given the elaborate feature set of this, the manual is extremely comprehensive to try and explain some of those new features and how to drill into the onboard menu via the front display to be able to change and make the most out of all of the new feature set that the preamp has. So it's wonderful to see that they've spent the time in a printed brochure. In this age of downloadable this and automatically updating that, they've got a proper manual included. Excellent to see. The top is protected or held sort of in centre by some closed cell foam. And then lifting that and just tilting it, we can see the product sitting firmly inside some cardboard packaging itself. We've got a big long IEC power cord, it's got a New Zealand plug, and the McIntosh remote control. Now it seems that, actually it says it on it, due to regulatory requirements regarding recycling methods, basically they no longer include batteries with the remotes. Nevertheless, it's a couple of AAAs required, and the remotes are universal across McIntosh's range. So it means that you don't have to pick up a specific remote control to operate the McIntosh pieces. We've got quite a wide range covered off in the remote. Once the batteries are in, it's got a lovely look and feel, and it is. It's a beautiful remote. The preamp itself, as I alluded to, is sitting inside some cut cardboard. I'll just put this off to one side, and I'll sort of explain. Okay. This is pre-cut for a number of products that fit this form factor of box. There's a cutaway to protect the front, the classic oversized glass front, and then the feet sit directly in it. So as soon as this box is sealed, it's not going anywhere. It's not going to be able to move forward or backwards, and it means, again, some elaborate, timeless packaging methods have been utilised to ensure your product ends up with you perfect and in one piece. Right, now the product itself is held inside an oversized plastic bag. On one side, just roll this around. On one side it's sealed with 3 or 4 pieces of sellotape, and nicking that is probably the safest, easiest way of getting access to it. It's a simple enough process at this point to sort of slide the bag over some of the feet and other protrusions, and then carefully roll it around so that we can slide it off the last of the feet. Now in the bag there's a desiccant bag, which is also protected inside a soft cloth bag to ensure it cannot scratch the product in transit. So, looking at this beautiful product for the first time. Firstly, despite its new feature set, the elegance of it is obvious. They have not had a departure from any of the predecessors as far as the look and feel of the product. As always, we see the McIntosh logo and the model number in the centre, and beneath that the infrared sensor. We see the output for both left and right with the VU meters, which are backlit, and you can even turn that backlight off or dim it down. Please hang around it as always for the close-ups, we'll light it up. We've got an input selector which has a rotary encoder feel and a slight click, you might hear that, and the ability to navigate the on-screen display and menu using this. Pushing and holding goes into the setup menu, and then tap gives you the enter or backwards depending on what you're trying to do. Beneath that is the 6.35 quarter-inch headphone socket. It's a stereo socket, and they're utilising the HXD, McIntosh's room feel headphone amplifier as well. Stunning to see. We see the output labels 1 and 2, and please hang around for the photographs. There's a lot of stuff at the back which we're going to talk about with these new features. So as standard, by the way, it's got a main output. Okay, then you've got the ability to turn on an additional output 1 and 2 depending on your setup and configuration. You could utilize this for up to, well, a source, distribution source for up to 3 different setups, or a subwoofer, or by amplification, all of those things, which we'll allude to when we get to the back. There's a nice little red dot that appears when you're utilizing one of the outputs. Then we've got an 8-band equalizer, and it's very, very clear to see as far as their frequency response and other things that it's trying to attenuate, and you can see I'm just quietly bringing all of those beautifully into the central location. There's a 2-line illuminated display, and that changes with all of the basics: bass, treble, balance, you name it. We've got the ability to turn off the front equalization, and we've got a mute button. Beside that, finally, is the only red button on the front, and that's standby, and pushing and holding factory resets the unit, by the way. The volume control is also a rotary encoder. This one doesn't have the same clicks like the input does, and again, as part of its setup, that's how you go through the setup process. You've also got this little discrete LED. Now that is for the new feature associated with network control, and it illuminates only when it's got it's ready to go as far as its control. Obviously, as always, McIntosh's style as far as the aluminium wings. Tilting it forward, we see a couple of things that we've seen in all of the McIntosh products. And the most obvious is the screen printing associated with the circuit design. It talks about all of the digital and analog inputs along with the two phono preamps, and again we'll touch on all of these things. There's even a line drawing associated with DSD and the DACs and other things along those lines too. It's standard depth, in fact it's the same depth as the new C2800 valve pre. If you're interested in that, by the way, there's a link. And it's at the back, again as I've alluded to, that we see a huge change. Starting with something that you would expect to see in a reference product like this is McIntosh's new DA2 DAC. Now the DA1 is stunning, and that is present in all of the mid-price products. Their more expensive high-end products feature the DA2 as standard, and it deserves it. It runs 386 kilohertz, all of the big numbers, right? 32-bit, 386 kilohertz. Extended well past that for DXD and DSD audio, by the way, and that's via asynchronous USB and the MCT link. Nevertheless, touching on the digital ins, we've got two opticals, both marked optical 1 and optical 2, two coaxes 1 and 2. These can all be labelled, changed, turned on and off with the setup. The MCT link is associated with McIntosh's transport, and it allows the digital signal and clock information for both CD and SACD for their players. Asynchronous USB that I alluded to, and then beneath it an HDMI for audio return. This HDMI is pretty smart though. Utilising the DAC's capabilities, it will decode both Dolby Digital and DTS to a stereo signal, which is stunning. So many potential sources, like a TV, do a very average job of that downmix, so you're best to give it the full bandwidth and let this unit downmix it to stereo. Beside the DA2, we've got the new network control socket. This is not for streaming. This is simply to, via IP, control this, allowing you to do all manner of its setup and control either by an automation system or by McIntosh's free control app. We see a whole lot of data points. Now there's 6 of them. This is associated with transferring the control from this down to other connected McIntosh devices. And it's influenced again by both RS232 via 3.5mm and an IR input for external traditional control methods. Then we've got simple power control, which allows for 12-volt trigger, output and inputs, as well as the utilization for a pass-through should you be using this as, or using your power amplifiers as part of a theatre amp, which is a very common process. The pass-through, simple enough, turn on the theatre amplifier, this bypasses the preamp stage and allows you to use the power amps. Then beside that we've got a simple USB for the purposes of software and service. And lastly, the traditional IEC power socket. Now, it's at the top section that everything gets absolutely brilliant. You've seen probably with some of the close-ups by now the analog inputs, so there are 4 analog inputs. Beside that is the processor loop. Now again, that could be utilized in a theatre environment for a processor, or a room correction product, or maybe one of the passes through for a subwoofer, although we're going to talk about some of the other features, eliminating probably 99% of the need for that for a subwoofer. Now the 2 phono preamps can be the same or different. You can set one up to be a moving magnet and the other one to be moving coil. It's got 6 dB gain settings all the way from 40 dB to about 64, so absolutely brilliant to see those being able to be configured if you require. It's got 3 balanced inputs, and like the digitals, they're just marked 1, 2 and 3 because you can change this any way you like. Then we've got the main output, output 1 and output 2, and it's when you see the screen printing that we've got the capabilities of this within the setup. This can be the main output or the high pass filter output. The second can be the low pass filter, and the third can be utilized specifically for subwoofers. Both are separate circuits for single-ended RCA inputs or balanced outputs. So we've got 1, 2, 3 sets of balanced outs, 1, 2, 3 sets of RCA or single-ended outputs, all independently wired and can independently be affected with their roll-off and other things associated with a crossover for bi-amp, bi-wire and even tri-wire configuration. And of course the ability to manage the subwoofers, as I alluded to. So this is absolutely stunning. The feature set of this product is second to none. And if we look at the C2800, which is a stunning valve preamp, it's got immeasurably low noise floor, although at 0.08% it's relatively high in the grand scheme of things. It's a valve preamp, clearly. Well, this solid state preamp rewrites the rules with a 0.005% total harmonic distortion, meaning this thing is silent. In every operation associated with it, every input is utterly perfect. So there we have it. McIntosh's brand new C55 solid state preamp, lovingly unboxed here at the Listening Post in Christchurch, New Zealand. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more, subscribe to our channel.